Hey team, it's day 89, 1 day to go. Hope you guys are doing well. You've made it so far. Thank you for your support. I appreciate your following, participating in whatever way you may partaking in as you watch this video. Like I said, 1 day to go. Tomorrow will be more of a results section and what we've learned through this. It's gonna be a fun one, so don't miss tomorrow. So wanted to get into the goals real quickly, but also wanna talk about something that's just out there that I was asked is, how can I stop emotional eating? And I made this black and red just because to really contrast the stopping emotional eating. It's a tough one. It's a tough one to answer. And we'll walk through some things on how you can approach doing your best to work at stopping emotional eating, but walk through ways to identify and just all kinds of stuff. But let's get through the goals first. No red, which is good. 213.6, man, I just think I was destined for 213. I do believe I'm going to have to do rework my individual program a little bit to kind of do the breakthrough, whether it be up the cardio number of days. I barely did any days of cardio during this. When I did, it was mainly because I couldn't get in my lifting, but I didn't want to do a ton of extra cardio, a ton of extra activity, a ton of strenuous activity that was burning a ton of extra calories, because I truly wanted to test this calories, water, sleep. And just ensure that when you get close and get your proteins or whatever kind of way you like to eat from a macronutrient perspective, that you were able to lose weight and get to what I call a set point, or just a place where your body looks and feels good and is healthy. When you look at 213, it's right around 19 pounds right now, which over 13 weeks is going to be roughly a little over a pound, not quite a pound and a half per time. So a little less than the 2 that I wanted. I don't know that I'm going to float a ton of weight overnight for tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. So everything looks good here. Let's talk about how can I stop emotional eating. And when you really take a look at it, and there's going to be, like I said, roughly 8 things here. I'm not going to start with black because that's black and I want my colors to chime a little bit. But the biggest thing you have to do is you have to actually become aware. So the first of all is you have to be aware of the emotional eating. So be aware. And how do you do that? How many times have you come home from a stressful day at work and you plop yourself down in front of the TV, the latest episode of whatever you're watching? House of Cards was the one that I watched a while ago, but just trying to think of the latest episode of that is on. You sit down and you grab something and you just mindlessly start eating because you want to take your mind off what has currently been super stressful, right? And you really don't realize it until after a while. You just sit there and you realize, you look over and you got maybe 1, 2 bags of popcorn, whatever it might be, whatever your thing is, it's sitting there and you're still ready to go and have supper or have an actual meal after you get doing that. So the first thing is becoming aware and actually identifying, or just that you are an emotional eater. A lot of people don't like to admit that. They, if it's hard to admit. So emotional eating means based off of severe stress, if somebody just, emotionally hurts you, some tough situations are happening in your life, all types of things, it's almost automatic, and it's actually a learned behavior over time. And I like to say, it could be familia as well, because we were always stress eaters in my family. So the second thing is you got to know your triggers then. If you actually know you have it, the second thing is we got to know our triggers. So what are your triggers? Is it that darn job? Is it that darn boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, whatever you want to say? Like what are those triggers? What certain situation, is causing you to emotionally eat, right? And then the third thing I like to say is, if you like to eat, or if you're going to eat, because you want to trigger it, slow down as you do it. A lot of times when I emotionally eat, when I go over to that pantry, I'm a super fast eater when it comes to that. When I actually have a meal and it's planned out, and I'm going to have dinner, and whether it be, chicken, broccoli, whether it be a steak and potatoes, whether it even be a burger and fries, I've actually planned to eat that. When it's emotionally eating, I'm hitting the pantry, I'm hitting anything I can grab, and it's like super, super fast. It's almost like a binge eating, really, to be honest. If you think about maybe another term, I mean, binge eating would be another one. So, you know, become aware, learn your triggers, and also make sure that you're slowing down if you're going to. But the next thing is, when you think about it, why do you emotionally eat? You know, if you truly are emotional and you're aware of it, you kind of identify your triggers. If you decide to eat, you're going to slow down. But the fourth thing is, like, handle the emotion. Okay, so when that type of stuff happens, like, identify what is causing me to want to eat. So remember the acronym we used for STOP was, first of all, stop, you know, talk to yourself, observe, and proceed, right? You can use this same thing here as like, handle the emotion, and I'll put in here like stop. And if you watch this video, you know what that means. So ensure that you're just like, you actually know what the situation is. So as that happens, the example I've used in the past is when you emotionally can actually feel that coming on from like when I used to get angry stuff, you can work on over time eliminating that. It's just something to definitely think about as you roll. And another thing is, if you handle the emotion, the fifth is finding an alternative. So if you can find an alternative, if you become aware and say, okay, I am an emotional eater, what are my triggers? If I'm gonna actually eat, I'm gonna slow down. Second thing I can do is handle the emotion. If I'm not able to do that, but I don't wanna eat, and I'm not gonna slow down as I eat, finding the alternative to, okay, what am I gonna do next time that happens? And understand that these are just basically 5 things that are really, as it relates to emotional eating, it's just things to try. It's just like last night, things to try over time is one thing, find an alternative. But if you can't find the alternative, and I'm just gonna keep going with this, another thing is, what are triggers? Slow down, handle the emotion, find the alternative. I always say is nutrient dense foods. If you're filling yourself up on nutrient dense foods during the day, and then when you start to emotional eat, you have nutrient dense foods, it's kind of hard. Like, if you're full all day, or if you're eating more frequently during the day, and you know you tend to be an emotional eater, you got a stressful job or whatever, but you're full and you don't have a ton of options other than nutrient dense options to binge on, more than likely you're probably not going to, right? And that's just another thing to think about. This one, the number 6 is always, that one's always tough for me, is like when I want to emotionally eat, I want to grab something quick, fast. If you have more nutrient dense or more voluminous food with not a ton of calories in them available, I mean, this could even be rice cakes to get the crunch in there. Just find, if finding the alternative, if it's not going to be something other than food, then make sure you're cranking those nutrient dense foods as you eat it. But a lot of people ask, when they ask this question, that, you know, why is that? And it's a hard thing, but as you roll through some of these programs, you have to give yourself grace to yourself and love yourself. I mean, that's one thing. Love yourself and your body. So it's easy to say, you know, even where I made it to, and based on, you know, I'm like, oh, I still got some fat here that I want to get rid of, some fat here, you know, blah, blah, blah. You could always find something to pick on your body, but overall you have to feel good and start to have that positive outlook for your body. Even if you're not exactly where you are, when you tend to not like yourself or not like your body, it's going to be much easier for you to hurt your body, which is emotional eating. We know that those excess calories, you know, over time, sitting down in front of a TV for 2 hours to watch a couple of different episodes and crank food with those extra calories and lost time, you could be walking and prepping food, you know, for tomorrow for work. You could be doing a number of different things, but you think about it over the course of a year. Let's say you do that 5 days out of the week, right? And there's then you get 2 weeks vacation, 50 weeks in a year, 5 days out of the week. It's 200 times you're going to be sitting in front of the TV for 2 hours, eating calories that you probably shouldn't. That's 400 hours. of lost productivity time, which could be, walking, listening to your buds, prepping food, doing whatever, and also 400 hours of times you're just, throwing in empty calories. So something to think about as it relates to loving yourself when you get a more positive outlook and change your mindset. And this one takes time, you guys. This one takes time. And the last one that I was going to talk about, but I don't have a marker yet, but I will put it on here as another one is, we always know this is just get more sleep. And we already know that. That's why I left it for last. And these all tie together a little bit, but when you get more sleep, and I talked about this, I believe last night, is going to bed earlier, waking up earlier, just those productive hours in the day for yourself. It'll also help when you get more sleep, helps change the attitude, reset the hormones. We've talked about this tons of times. Give yourself that grace, though. This is the one I think that is probably the toughest for a lot of us because we're the hardest on ourselves. But again, 8 different things that could help you get on the road to stopping your emotional eating. Do your best, because I would just say this is a definite learned behavior. The research I've done, the personal experience I've had, the family that I'm a part of, definitely is a learned behavior, and environmental things are there. And you just need to do your best to identify when and the first part about it is just, it's not like, it's really just admitting that you do it and just actually looking for it. So if you find yourself, sometimes when you drive a car somewhere and you don't remember going those places, that's what I find emotional eating for me is like, I will forget what I've eaten, and then you see packages of stuff, chip packages, Oreo packages, in the back of the day, whatever they were, but you would almost like you were mindlessly doing this stuff. That means that you probably are emotional eating, okay? So just simple things that you can look at and do a little bit of research that'll help you identify if you are doing this. But the awareness, I think, was the big thing for me, and I didn't want to admit that it was emotional eating because I thought it was only oh, that's weak. You look weak, you're eating because something's bothering you. It's like, even that stress, we talked about super stressful jobs and how cortisol levels rise, it keeps you up at night, which makes you hungry, which makes your brain want food, which, that spiral, where did that trigger from? The stress in the job, right? Which is, emotional. So you can look at it many different ways, whether people make you mad, whether work's getting on you, whether you got bills to pay, financially, wherever the stress is coming from, you got to become aware that if you're eating food to take care of that. And then just, what are the certain triggers, slow down, all these things I hope help, right? And they're not something you're going to be able to do and get overnight. If you do, awesome, good for you. It's just not likely. So don't also set expectations that you're going to be able to do all 8 of these things. I mean, the sleep was part of it, but even all 7 of these things right away and just I'm going to be perfect. No, there's a reason we're here. There's a reason we're emotionally eating. We're human. You can only learn from your mistakes. Your greatest teacher is your last mistake. So I pray that, as we're on our last day and I talk about emotional eating and how to stop it, and I just, over these past few days, wanted to give a few extra tips that you can remember and that you can do, not necessarily related straight up calories, water, sleep, but do tie in well. I hope this content was effective for you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you have any comments, leave them in the comments. If you want to hit me up, just private message me and we can talk. And as always, you know what? I appreciate the support. I know this is the last day of the 90-day challenge, but obviously we have tomorrow, but we'll go through mainly results there. I don't know that I'll be doing a ton of content unless I find something cool. But I've really appreciated all of you that have given me tons of support, that mostly gotten support. And I set out to, started out with that just number, but in the end, my purpose behind this was to help people like my sisters, like my mom, like my dad, who just never quite got it, and are still working on it today, like we all are. But just I think if they all would have had a more simplified process earlier on, and just, as long as you have the information, it, then it's a choice on whether or not you want to turn away from the information. But I think this industry is so clouded with crazy promises and crazy pills and potions and and everything that just, after you get burned about your 5th or 6th time on fad diets, it's like, hell, I am not going to try anything more. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to watch my Lord of the Rings or whatever movie I want to flip on right now. I'm going to eat my bag of chips or my popcorn or wherever else I want, and my Snickers, and I'm going to drink some full diesel sugar pop. I'm going to love life because it feels good. And emotional eating feels good. And you know, if what I set out to do was say, hey, you can live, you can still eat, you can have your cake and you can eat it too. Just cut the portion a little bit. Keep a little bit of track of this. Make sure you're hydrated, and for darn sakes, get more sleep. Turn off that phone and those screens, and get that 7 hours or more each night. And that's really what I set out to do, is to see if we could simplify that process and at least give the tools and give it's not a magic formula, but just straight up, here's what it is. It's not super easy. But over time, if you just focus on those small changes in that 1% and build up over time, you should build a sustaining, healthy lifestyle where you know how your body reacts to different types of foods because you've tracked them over time, you've seen what happens, and in the end, you just educate yourself through trial and error as you go through this. And over time, you're gonna get down to the weight you want, you're gonna be healthier, your numbers are gonna look better, and overall, you will live longer so you can take the gifts that God gave you and help everyone else with that. So again, thank you so much for your support. I look forward to tomorrow. I'm a little sad. It's going to be bittersweet, but I do look forward to it. So as always, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thanks again.